The Silent Watchers. The Vedrani High Command's observation post hung motionless in the darkness of deep space, its crystalline structure perfectly camouflaged against the backdrop of stars. Supreme Observer Ixal stood before the central viewing screen, their four eyes fixed on the holographic display showing Earth's solar system. The beam's iridescent scales shifted colors with anxiety as they watched yet another human warship emerge from the Shanghai shipyards. Most irregular, Ixal muttered, mandibles clicking in concentration. Third Fleet expansion this cycle alone. Their assistant, Krell, manipulated the controls with their lower appendages, zooming in on the vessel's unique design. Unlike the sleek, standardized warships of the Galactic Confederation, human vessels were brutally practical. This particular ship bristled with what appeared to be retrofitted mining equipment, modified for military purposes in ways that defied conventional strategic doctrine. They're breaking every rule of established ship design, Krell noted, their voice tinged with both fascination and horror. Look at those point defense clusters. They're using gravitational mining beams as weapons platforms. It shouldn't work, but somehow it does, Ixal finished, just like everything else they build. They gestured with their upper limbs, bringing up historical data from the past decade of observation. 10 years ago, they were barely achieving reliable fusion power. Now they're manipulating quantum fields in ways our scientists claimed were impossible. The humans' rapid technological advancement had been concerning enough to warrant this covert observation post, hidden at the edge of their solar system. The Vedrani Collective, along with the other major powers of the Galactic Confederation, had strict protocols for monitoring emerging spacefaring species. Humanity had initially seemed unremarkable, just another young race taking its first steps into the cosmos. But there was something different about these beings, something that made the Confederation's eldest races increasingly uneasy. New data packet from our infiltration units on Mars, Krell announced. The humans are running combat exercises again. Shall I display? Ixal nodded, and a holographic display shifted to show formations of smaller vessels engaging in complex maneuvers around the red planet. The ships moved in patterns that seemed chaotic at first glance, but revealed an underlying sophistication that made Ixal's scales ripple with concern. They train constantly, Ixal observed. Every simulation, every exercise, they're always preparing for war. Yet they haven't fought a single space battle. Their colonies are peaceful, their trade relations unremarkable. Perhaps they simply value preparation, Krell suggested. Many species maintain defensive capabilities without aggressive intent. Ixal's scales shifted to a deep purple of disagreement. No, there's something more. These aren't defensive preparations. Look at their ship designs, their tactical doctrines. Everything they build has offensive capabilities hidden beneath civilian purposes. They're preparing for something specific. The Supreme Observer's suspicions have been growing for months. The humans' technological development wasn't just rapid, it was focused. Every innovation seemed to have potential military applications, carefully disguised beneath peaceful purposes. Their mining vessels could become weapon platforms with minimal modification. Their cargo ships had power plants far larger than needed for mere transport. Even their civilian vessels incorporated design elements that made no sense unless viewed through a military lens. New transmission intercepted, Krell announced suddenly. Priority message from their Mars Defense Command to Earth Central. The message appeared on screen, decoded into standard galactic script. Project Aegis milestone achieved. Shield penetration tests successful. Proceeding to Phase 2. Ixal's scales blanched white. Shield penetration. The Confederation's energy shield technology was considered mathematically perfect, developed over millennia by the greatest minds of 100 species. The idea that humans had found a way to defeat it in mere decades was, "Send an immediate priority alert to the High Council," Ixal ordered. Humanity can no longer be classified as a minor species. They must be. The observers' words died in their throat as alerts suddenly blared throughout the station. On the main display, A new ship had appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, less than 1,000 kilometers from their position. It was human in design, but unlike anything they'd seen before. Sleek, dark, and bristling with technology that their sensors couldn't even begin to classify. "Impossible," Krall whispered. "Our stealth systems are perfect. They couldn't have detected us." The human vessel hung motionless in space, making no aggressive moves. Then a transmission came through on all frequencies, in perfect Vedrani. "Greetings, honored observers. We hope you found your study of humanity enlightening. Perhaps it's time we had a proper conversation." Ixal's scales cycled through every shade of shock and fear before settling on a deep, resigned blue. They had believed they were the Watchers, the ones gathering intelligence on an emerging species. Now they realized that they might have been the ones being studied all along. The game was about to change, and humanity had just revealed they knew all the rules and were ready to rewrite them. First Blood. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the HSS Nightshade, watching the alien observation post through the ship's quantum imaging array. The crystalline structure of the Vedrani station sparkled with complex energy patterns that most human sensors would have missed entirely. But then, the Nightshade wasn't most ships. "They're transmitting to their High Council," Lieutenant Park reported from his sensor station. "Quantum encrypted, but we're reading the carrier wave patterns. They're scared." "Good," Chen said quietly. "Fear breeds respect, and we need their respect for what comes next." The Nightshade represented humanity's best-kept secret, a vessel designed not just for war, but for revolutionizing how war was fought. While the rest of Earth's fleets bristled with obvious weapons and defenses, the Nightshade was smooth, dark, and seemingly unarmed. Its true power lay in systems that even most of Earth's military didn't know existed. "Message from Earth Command," Communications Officer Rivera announced. "They're asking if we want to proceed with Phase Omega." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Send the confirmation. It's time to show our hand." Across the solar system, hidden human ships began powering up systems that had lain dormant for years. The facade was falling away, and humanity's true face would finally be revealed to the galaxy. "Vedrani Station is hailing us again," Rivera reported. "They're requesting, no, demanding an explanation." "Put them through," Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. The holoscreen flickered to life, showing the iridescent form of Supreme Observer Ixal. "You have violated multiple Confederation treaties," the alien began without preamble, their scales shifting through patterns of agitation. "Your technological level should not allow." "Should not," Chen interrupted softly. "Observer Ixal, humanity stopped caring about should not a very long time ago. We're more interested in what is and what could be. Your species was rated as a Category 3 civilization," Ixal continued, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Your development should have taken centuries to reach this level. It's impossible." "Impossible is just another word for something we haven't figured out yet," Chen replied. "But let's be honest, you're not really concerned about our technological progress. You're worried about what we plan to do with it." The alien scales shifted to a deep purple. "Your species develops weapons with every breakthrough. Your ships are designed for war even when disguised as peaceful vessels. The Confederation cannot allow." A new alarm suddenly blared on the Vedrani station. Chen didn't need to look at her displays to know what they were seeing. Across the solar system, human ships were shedding their civilian facades. Mining vessels transformed into battlecruisers, cargo haulers revealed missile batteries, and research stations unveiled energy weapons that shouldn't have been possible with known physics. "The Confederation cannot allow." Chen's voice remained calm, but carried an edge of steel. "Observer Ixal, I don't think you understand. We're not asking for permission. This is an act of war," Ixal warned, but their scales had shifted to the white of fear. "No," Chen corrected. "This is an act of preparation. We've studied your history, Observer. We know about the Drekar incursion, the fall of the Centauri worlds, the Plague Wars. Your Confederation talks of peace while ancient horrors lurk at the edges of known space. We've seen how you handle primitive species when those threats emerge, sacrificing them as buffer zones while the mighty Confederation debates policy. She leaned forward, her dark eyes fixed on the alien observer. Humanity will not be your shield, nor your sacrifice. We built these weapons not because we want war, but because we refuse to be helpless when it comes. And it is coming, isn't it, observer? That's why you've been watching us so closely. You've seen the signs too. Ixal's scales shifted through complex patterns before settling on a deep, resigned blue. The long dark, they whispered. Our deep space sensors have detected movement. The ancient enemy stirs. Then perhaps, Chen suggested, instead of worrying about humanity's weapons, you should be grateful we built them. The bridge fell silent as the implications hung in the space between human and alien. Finally, Ixal spoke again, their voice carrying a new tone of respect, tinged with lingering fear. You wish to propose an alliance? No, Chen replied. We wish to propose a revolution. Your Confederation's stagnant protocols and rigid hierarchies won't survive what's coming. Humanity doesn't want to join your old order. We want to help build a new one. She gestured, and holographic displays sprang to life around both ships, showing designs and concepts that made Ixal's scales ripple with shock. Hybrid technologies that merged human innovation with Confederation science. Defense systems that could protect entire sectors. Weapons that could strike across dimensions. This is impossible, Ixal whispered again, but with less conviction. That word again, Chen smiled. You should really stop using it around humans. We tend to take it as a challenge. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance as human and alien faced each other across the void. Humanity had revealed its strength, but the true test was still to come. The ancient enemy was stirring, and the galaxy would need more than just weapons to survive what lay ahead. It would need the impossible. Fortunately, humanity specialized in exactly that. The gathering storm. The Grand Chamber of the Confederation Council had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 1,000 worlds argued in hundreds of languages, while holographic displays showed the latest data from Earth. Supreme Counselor Vextra, their crystalline form glowing with stress patterns, attempted to maintain order. The human delegation will arrive within the hour, they announced, their harmonic voice cutting through the din. We must reach a consensus before. Consensus. The Merkin delegates' fur bristled with anger. They'd violated every development treaty we have. Their technology threatens the balance of power that's kept peace for millennia. Peace. A harsh laugh came from the Scythal representative, their bioluminescent patterns flashing with derision, while the Ancient Ones gather their forces beyond the rim, while our deep space outposts go dark one by one. In the shadow of one of the chamber's massive columns, Dr. James Martinez of Earth's Diplomatic Corps watched the debate with quiet amusement. Beside him, his AI assistant Araya projected data streams directly into his neural interface, analyzing every faction's reaction. They're terrified. Araya's synthetic voice whispered in his mind, but not just of us. The Confederation's facade is cracking. The Ancient One's return has them paralyzed with fear. Martinez nodded slightly. Humanity's sudden revelation of its true capabilities had been carefully timed. The galaxy was changing, whether the Confederation wanted it to or not. The chamber's massive doors slid open, revealing Admiral Chen and her delegation. The human group walked with quiet confidence, their neural interfaces allowing them to process the room's countless conversations simultaneously. Chen's dress uniform bore no weapons, but her bearing made it clear she needed none. Esteemed representatives of the Confederation, Chen's voice carried effortlessly across the chamber. We come not as supplicants, but as equals. And we bring warning. The holographic displays shifted, showing deep space sensor data that made several delegates recoil. The void between galaxies was no longer empty. Something vast was moving in the darkness. The Ancient Ones are not merely stirring, Chen continued. They're advancing. Your outer colonies will be their first targets, just as they were during the last incursion 5 million years ago. How dare you? The Merkin delegate's fur now stood fully on end. Those records are sealed. How could you possibly know about them? Martin stepped forward, his neural interface projecting additional data. We found the ruins. The evidence of their last attack wasn't as well hidden as you thought. We've spent decades preparing for their return, while you hoped they'd stay sleeping. The chamber erupted again, but Chen raised her hand for silence. When she spoke again, her voice carried an edge that cut through the chaos. We didn't come to assign blame. We came to offer a choice. The main holographic display changed, showing designs that made even the most advanced Confederation engineers gasp. Weapons that could tear holes in reality. Shields that could withstand the power of dying suns. Ships that could outmaneuver thought itself. This is blasphemy. The Vedrani representative's scales shifted to deep crimson. These technologies combine principles that cannot coexist. Cannot. Martin smiled. You're still thinking in terms of your ancient laws of physics. We found new ones. Impossible. Several voices shouted at once. The battle that followed defied conventional physics and strategy. The Ancient Ones fought with weapons that could erase matter from existence, but found themselves facing an enemy that could shift between probability states. They tried to twist space itself into a weapon, only to discover that humans had found ways to stabilize reality against such manipulations. Their flagship is attempting to initiate a dimensional collapse. Czar reported, their scales now showing patterns of awe rather than fear. They're trying to drag us into their home dimension. Perfect. Chen's smile grew sharper. Deploy the infinity bombs. Across the battlefield, small devices activated. Another human innovation that had horrified the Confederation when first revealed. They didn't destroy matter or energy. Instead, they created localized loops in space-time, trapping anything caught within them in an endless moment. The Ancient One's dimensional rift collapsed in on itself as the bombs detonated, trapping 3 of their massive vessels in temporal stasis. The remaining ships began to retreat, their confidence shaken by weapons they'd never encountered in millions of years of conquest. They're running, Park announced, his voice tinged with disbelief. No, Chen corrected. They're adapting. This was just their first wave, a test of our capabilities. Her neural interface showed her the quantum wake patterns of the retreating vessels. They'll be back, and they'll be ready for what we showed them today. But we'll be ready too. Czar's scales shifted to a deep purple of determination. The Confederation never imagined combining technologies like this. We thought we knew the limits of possible warfare, but humanity, Chen finished, doesn't believe in limits. She watched as the last of the Ancient One vessels vanished back into whatever nightmare dimension they called home. And we're just getting started. The combined fleet regrouped, their crews already analyzing data from the battle, finding ways to improve their weapons and defenses. The Ancient Ones had ruled the darkness between galaxies for millions of years, but they'd never faced an enemy like humanity, a species that turned impossibility into a challenge and fear into a weapon. The first battle was over, but the war was just beginning, and humanity had shown the galaxy that the impossible was just the beginning of what they could achieve. Dawn of a new era. 1 year after the Battle of Proxima Centauri, the galaxy had changed more than it had in the previous million years. The Grand Chamber of the Confederation Council was unrecognizable, literally. The ancient hall had been rebuilt using human quantum architecture, its walls shifting between dimensions to accommodate representatives from every known species. Admiral Sarah Chen, now Supreme Commander of the Combined Defense Forces, stood at the center of the chamber. Behind her, a massive holographic display showed the positions of the Ancient One's forces, now pushed back to the edges of known space. They're learning, adapting, she explained to the assembled representatives. Each encounter shows them using new tactics, attempting to counter our technologies. but we're advancing faster than they can adapt. Dr. Martinez, recently appointed as Earth's primary diplomat, stepped forward. His neural interface projected data streams that everyone in the chamber could access, showing the remarkable progress of the human-led technological revolution. The merger of human innovation with Confederation knowledge has exceeded all projections, he announced. What was impossible a year ago is now standard practice. What was unthinkable is now merely challenging. The chamber hummed with excited conversation. Species that had once viewed humans with suspicion or contempt now looked to Earth for leadership. The Ancient One's attack had shattered the old order, but humanity had helped build something new from the pieces. Supreme Observer Ixel, their scales now permanently shifted to the deep blue of wisdom, addressed the chamber. When we first detected the humans, we thought them primitive, dangerous. We were half right. A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. They were dangerous, but not to us. To our complacency, our rigid thinking, our acceptance of limitations. The holographic display shifted, showing the latest human-inspired innovations being implemented across Confederation space. Quantum shield networks protected entire sectors. Probability drives allowed ships to traverse vast distances instantly. Reality stabilizers prevented the Ancient Ones from using their dimensional weapons against populated worlds. But our greatest weapon, Chen continued, isn't our technology. It's our unity. The Ancient Ones expected to find a galaxy divided, clinging to old traditions and fears. Instead, they found something unprecedented, a civilization that could change and adapt as quickly as they could. The display showed the latest battle recordings. Combined fleet formations moved with impossible precision, human tactical innovations merging seamlessly with alien technology. Ships phased between dimensions, wielding weapons that broke the laws of physics, while reality stabilizers ensured their crews remained unaffected. The Ancient Ones are retreating to dark space, Martinez announced. Our deep space sensors show them abandoning their advance. For the first time in their existence, they've encountered a force they cannot simply overwhelm or outlast. But they will return, the Merkin delegate's fur rippled with concern. They've had millions of years to perfect their conquest of galaxies. They won't give up easily. Good. Chen's smile was fierce. Because humanity is just getting started. Show them the Prometheus project. The holographic display shifted again, revealing designs that made even the most advanced engineers in the chamber gasp. Ships that could manipulate the fabric of space itself. Weapons that could seal off entire dimensions. Defenses that could protect not just worlds, but entire sectors of space. Impossible, someone whispered, then laughed as they realized what they'd said. That word again, Martinez grinned. You'd think the galaxy would have learned by now. Nothing is impossible. Some things just require more innovation than others. The chamber erupted in excited discussion as the implications became clear. The Ancient Ones weren't just being driven back. They were facing an enemy that grew stronger with each encounter. An enemy that turned defeat into data, obstacles into opportunities, and impossibilities into challenges. The age of stagnation is over, Chen announced. The Ancient Ones thought they were invincible because they'd never faced an enemy that could evolve as quickly as they could. Now they face not just humanity, but a unified galaxy that has learned to embrace change rather than fear it. The holographic display showed the combined fleet's next planned offensive. An operation that would take the fight to the Ancient One's home dimension. It was ambitious, dangerous, and by all traditional metrics, impossible. In other words, it was exactly the kind of challenge humanity lived for. The darkness between galaxies is no longer their domain, Chen declared. The age of fear is over. Now begins the age of exploration, of innovation, of breaking through every barrier we encounter. The chamber rose in unanimous approval. The galaxy had been transformed, not just by human technology, but by human determination. The Ancient Ones had ruled the void for millions of years, but they'd never encountered a species that turned impossibility into a challenge and fear into motivation. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever, and the impossible was just the beginning of what they would achieve together.